Port Orchard City Council regular meeting. And in the actions we're about to take this evening, I would like to remind us of our guiding principles. Are we raising the bar in all our actions? Are we honoring the past but not living in the past? Are we building positive connections with our community and outside partners? And is the decision-making process building a diverse, equitable, and inclusive community? Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You made it that time. Yeah, figured it out, Jay.
Yeah, not go all the way over, yes.
All right, we have a published agenda for this evening. Are there any proposed modifications to this evening's agenda? Councilmember Rosepepe?
Mayor, I move to approve the agenda. I'll
Morrissey
defer
has
to Councilmember Morrissey.
Yes, Mayor. I move to add an executive session with no action to the end of our meeting this evening.
Okay, after adjournment? Or actually, after good of the order then?
The order.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to add an executive session after good of the order and prior to adjournment with no action to be taken afterwards. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that has been added. Councilmember Rosepepe?
Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Rosepepe, a second by Councilmember Trineri to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the agenda has been set for this evening. Tonight is a bit of a we've got a unique aspect to our meeting. We're going to have the council will hold a closed record hearing on the site-specific rezone application LU 25 rezone-01 filed by applicant Noel Larson on behalf of 1909 Holdings. I will now gavel the closed record hearing open at this point. This will be a quasi-judicial hearing based on the record created by the hearing examiner on December 3rd, 2025. This is a closed record proceeding and no new information or testimony beyond the record created by the hearing examiner will be allowed. Tonight, the City Council will consider the hearing examiner's recommendation to approve the rezone request by the applicant. The order of this proceeding will be as followed. The city attorney will walk the council through mandatory quasi-judicial disclosures. The staff will then provide a brief summary of the matter and the hearing examiner's recommendation. The applicant may then provide statements, but only refer to statements made to the hearing examiner, and no new information or arguments may be provided. The council may ask questions. The members of the public who testified at the hearing before the hearing examiner may reiterate their comments, but will only refer to statements made to the hearing examiner. No new information or arguments may be provided. The council may ask questions. The applicant may provide a response to the public comments, and the council may ask questions. The council will then hold a closed session per RCW 42.30.1402, which is similar to an executive session, but based on a different governing statute. The City Council will then return to open session for discussion and may issue a decision. I now invite the City Attorney, Charlotte Archer, to review the proceedings. We will follow for the hearing and any initial matters. Ms. Archer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you explained, this evening's proceeding is slightly different than what we normally do. Tonight, the City Council, for the purposes of this closed record hearing, is sitting in what's referred to as a quasi-judicial manner. This means you are sitting as judges to judge a specific request related to property rights. As judges, the council needs to be impartial, review the record established at the public hearing, which occurred before the hearing examiner on December 3rd, 2025, and review the application through the lens of the applicable standards under the Port Orchard Municipal Code. This also means the council needs to meet certain standards to sit as a judge, just as a judge would. These standards are based on the appearance of fairness doctrine, which is set out at RCW 4236060, and that requires the council to be fair by avoiding actual bias, but to also appear fair, meaning even where no actual bias exists, there may be a potential conflict that we ask for you to disclose. In addition, the doctrine requires council members to disclose any contacts that they may have had with any party or any member of the public about this matter. Those are referred to as ex parte contacts. As a preliminary matter, I will like to put on the record that all council members have had contact with the city clerk and city staff regarding the meeting materials, meeting procedures, and the scheduling of tonight's hearing. These communications were included in the packet for the applicant and public. As a second preliminary matter, I would put on the record that all council members, with the exclusion of our newest council member, have received public comment during previous council meetings related to this matter. I recall at least one meeting where it was discussed. Because these communications were provided during the public comment period and are publicly available, this disclosure is sufficient. So I will now proceed to ask a series of questions of the council members to address the elements of the appearance of fairness doctrine. I will also ask a question intended to identify whether you have had any ex parte communications. So please provide a verbal response when you are prompted. If you respond yes to any of these questions, I'm going to then ask you to state whether you are electing to recuse yourself from these proceedings. If you choose to recuse yourself, you will be asked to leave the room for the remainder of just these proceedings. Once the meeting resumes, you'll be invited back. So I am going to go, because this is the first time we've done this as a council, I'm going to do this individually. I often do it as a group, but I think it's a useful measure to go through the first time. So I'm going to start with Councilmember Diener. And again, please answer yes or no verbally. Do you have a financial or personal interest in the real property or this application?
No.
Do you stand to gain or lose financially from the council's decision on this application? Do you have any reason to believe that you cannot hear and consider this matter in a fair and objective manner due to actual or potential bias?
No.
Have you had any contact with the applicant, their legal representative, or any other person about this application?
No.
Thank you. Councilmember Dedman, do you have any financial or personal interest in this real property or application? No. Do you stand to gain or lose financially from the council's decision on this application? No. Do you have any reason to believe that you cannot hear and consider this matter in a fair and objective manner due to actual or potential bias? No. Have you had any contact with the applicant, their legal representative, or any other person about this application? No. Thank you. Councilmember Morrissey, do you have a financial or personal interest in this real property or application?
No.
Do you stand to gain or lose financially from the council's decision on this application?
No.
Do you have any reason to believe you cannot hear and consider this matter in a fair and objective manner due to actual or potential bias?
No.
Have you had any contact with the applicant, legal representative, or any other person about this application?
No.
Thank you. Councilmember Rosapepe, do you have a financial or personal interest in this real property or application?
No.
Do you stand to gain or lose financially from the council's decision on this application?
No.
Do you have any reason to believe that you cannot hear and consider this matter in a fair and objective manner due to actual or potential bias?
No.
Have you had any contact with the applicant, their legal representative, or any other person about this application?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, you're not a deliberating party, so we do not do this disclosures as to you. Councilmember Trenary, do you have a financial or personal interest in this real property or application?
No.
Do you stand to gain or lose financially from the council's decision on this application?
No.
Do you have any reason to believe that you cannot hear and consider this matter in a fair and objective manner due to actual or potential bias? Have you had any contact with the applicant, their legal representative, or any other person about this application?
No.
Thank you. Councilor Fenton, do you have a financial or personal interest in this real property or application?
No.
Do you stand to gain or lose financially from the council's decision on this application?
No.
Do you have any reason to believe that you cannot hear and consider this matter in a fair and objective manner due to actual or potential bias?
No.
Have you had any contact with the applicant, their legal representative, or any other person about this application?
No.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a financial or personal interest in this real property or application?
No.
Do you stand to gain or lose financially from the council's decision on this application?
No.
Do you have any reason to believe you cannot hear and consider this matter in a fair and objective manner due to actual or potential bias?
No.
Have you had any contact with the applicant, their legal representatives, or any other person about this application?
No.
Okay, thank you, counsel. So now we turn to the public, including anyone that's attending online. Does anyone present wish to state a challenge to any city council members' disclosures or their participation in this hearing on appearance of fairness doctrine grounds? If so, please raise your hand if you're online, or raise your hand if you're in the audience. All right. So hearing no challenge on the appearance of fairness grounds, the city council members are now ready to proceed with this hearing. So Mr. Mayor, we can continue with the hearing script.
We will now proceed with the closed record hearing. As mentioned, only staff, the applicant, and those members of the public that testified at the public hearing on December 3rd, 2025 may testify. No new information may be provided, and the discussion is to be based solely on the record created by the hearing examiner. I understand city staff has submitted information regarding the notices that were published and sent for this hearing. That information was included in the published packet. The published packet also include all the materials submitted to the hearing examiner, including the staff report, application, and submitted public comments, as well as the recording of the hearing. Next, we will proceed with a short summary of the staff report submitted to the hearing examiner from staff. Mr. Bond, this is you.
Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the site-specific rezone application LU25 rezone-01. This is the Hull Avenue rezone proposal. I first wanted to note that I did send an email yesterday indicating that there was an addition to your City Council packet, and what was pointed out to the city by one of the parties of record was that there is an incorrect statement in the hearing examiner decision on page 3 that states no public testimony was received, but then the hearing examiner decision goes on to explain some of the public testimony that was received, and so I assume this is a copy and paste type error. We had asked the clerk to add a computer-generated transcript to the packet and so that you would have records of all the testimony that was received in the public hearing before the hearing examiner. I want to talk about the public hearing notices that were provided. The notice of the public hearing before the hearing examiner included a 300-foot mailing radius notice that went out to all properties within the 300-foot radius, as well as a legal notice in the Kitsap Sun, the city's newspaper of record. Similarly, for tonight's closed record hearing, we sent out a mailer for properties within 300 feet of the proposed rezone property, and again, a legal notice appeared in the Kitsap Sun, our newspaper of record. To summarize the site-specific rezone, the proposal is to take this property from an R2 to an R3 zoning. The biggest differences between R2 and R3 is that the R3 zone allows for the apartment building type, so you can have an apartment building versus just up to a fourplex in the R2 zone. Also, the unit density for lots in the R3 goes from 4 units per lot in the R2 district to 6 units per lot in the R3 district. And in the report provided by staff to the hearing examiner, staff did not provide a recommendation either in favor or against the proposed rezone. The hearing examiner decision that was provided in your packet includes a recommendation of approval from the hearing examiner. The hearing examiner found that the proposal meets the criteria for granting a rezone as found in Portage Municipal Code section 20.42.030, including consistency with the comprehensive plan, consistency with the purpose of the zone, consistency between zone criteria and area characteristics, the zoning history and precedential effect of possible rezone, the impact of more intense zones on the less intense zones, physical buffers, lot lines, boundaries between residential and non-residential areas, as well as evaluation of the impacts of the rezone. We also, in that in the hearing examiner summary, the hearing examiner noted some changes that are recently enacted by House Bill 1110 that had to be incorporated into the city's zoning code in the past periodic update cycle and update to the development regulations. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Bond, does the applicant wish to speak to the council?
Does the council wish for me to?
If you wish to speak, you step to the microphone, and we ask that you keep your comments to 10 minutes or less. And as stated previously, you need to stick to the comments that were made at the...
For
at the hearing?
Since I've never done anything like this before, I'll just go ahead and, well, I'm Noel Larson, the applicant for the rezone. I live at 821 DeKalb Street in Port Orchard. Because this is not anything I've ever done, I'm just going to go ahead and summarize what I said at the public hearing. Per my testimony at the hearing examiner meeting on December 3rd, 2025, I made 3 points. 3 or 4 points. The first point was neighborhoods to the north and south of the subject property already have sidewalks. Sidewalks in the neighborhoods to the north connect to downtown. The subject property will act as a connector between neighborhoods to the south, creating an unbroken pedestrian pathway for homes to the south, including Forest Song, to access downtown. So it's basically an infill type situation. The intent of the rezone to R3 is to allow additional option of apartments. This equates to a modest increase in density over what could be built under R2. In either case, frontage improvements would be included. The subject properties are in the urban growth area, and a rezone to R3 aligns with the Growth Management Act and Port Orchard Comprehensive Plan. Additionally, the Port Orchard Municipal Code addresses many of the concerns that were presented by neighboring property owners. A mixture of densities is not unusual in Port Orchard. Menards Glen at Jackson and Lunn, Orchard Point at Pottery and Lippert, and the Kiwi Apartments on Sydney are a few examples of where apartment complexes are mixed in with single-family neighborhoods. My understanding is that this council review is a closed record, and I trust that the city will ensure any summaries stay within the existing records so the process remains fair for everyone. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Larson before he steps away from the podium? Any questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Larson. Is there any member of the public who testified at the hearing wish to address the city council? If there's anyone online, you would use the raise your hand feature and we would bring you into the meeting. Looks like someone there?
Okay. Ms. Wallstrom can be admitted. Yeah.
If you could identify yourself for the record, and my script says that the members of the public are asked to keep their remarks to 2 minutes or less and only speak to the same comments that were made at the hearing.
Thank you.
So,
I was present at that hearing. I'd like to point out, since the Washington House Bill 1110 was brought up, it does already at R2 enable the 4 units, which would suit that. Some of the concerns from the hearing examiner report that I have is that the basis for and crux of the argument is that there has been a change of criteria, and criteria has been met based on changes within the community. The rezoning of Forest Song was done in 1977, so that definitely is a well-past situation. And the permitting process for it took place in February of 2024, while the comprehensive plan for the city was published in December of 2024. So based on when this application was even submitted, there are no changes in criteria. Additionally, in the hearing examiner's report, one of the important notes was land use 8, LU-8, emphasizing maintaining small town character while ensuring housing diversity. Our neighborhood does feel that Forest Song is a red herring and it doesn't really match the character of the neighborhood. Additionally, since it is not near any transit centers, which is part of the promotion to the greater density of 6 units for Housing Bill 1110. So LU8 is already being served with the middle housing level of R2, where R3 doesn't serve it any justice. It's just more apartments. And the HS2 that was quoted, it is intended to support residents at all stages of life. And the apartments are definitely more consolidated to a certain stage of life. And we have residents in more distant parts of this neighborhood with triplexes and duplexes or fourplexes that have been in those homes for almost decades. And so we know that the neighborhood has borne out the tendency to like support and work well with that sort of housing.
All right.
I am almost done.
Okay. And I must ask that you narrow your comments to the statements that you made at the hearing examiner and not speak to the hearing examiner's report. So I need you to narrow your remarks to the comments that you made at the hearing.
Correct. And the topics you discussed at the hearing, as a reminder, were stormwater, vegetation, and slope stability.
I definitely did discuss the character of the neighborhood. I did not discuss a variety of housing, but to continue, so please strike HS2 from my testimony, but to continue, the reference to RCW 36.70A.07 parentheses 2, again, referencing neighborhood character and using the case law of Amen, I can't recall. I've already addressed the character of the neighborhood. Once again, I did do it in the hearing at the time in December. And in climate policy CC-27B, there is a direct statement in the comprehensive plan that growth should be directed towards area with lower hazard risk. And since the comprehensive plan is on target to meet its growth goals already with the zoning that has been laid out in the comprehensive plan, moving toward this higher risk area doesn't make sense. And in the hearing examiner report, it was laid out that that there is a wide variety of apartment places available. They're just not yet being built.
Okay, I need you to wrap up. You're beyond your time, but if you could.
That completes my comments.
Okay, and could you identify yourself for the record?
I apologize. Athena Wallstrom. I am a resident within the 300-foot zone, which I think there's maybe only 10 of us.
All right, thank you. And counsel, do you have any questions for this testifier?
Yeah, just she stated something that I just wanted to rehear. The difference of the dates she mentioned. It was the difference of the application date and the GMA date, I think.
1977 versus 2007, those different dates.
And I'm not certain that those remarks were made in the initial
Yeah, that's
hearing.
not the one, not the 1977 one. She mentioned.
I think the comp plan update.
Yeah, what was the update date that she gave? That I was just curious. Is that
Are
accurate?
those remarks consistent with what's in the
Yeah,
hearing?
those comments were not in the underlying testimony, so we can't provide any additional
Oh, I
information.
thought she had said that she had stated.
It's not, we have the transcript here, it's not there.
One more question over here.
Okay, yeah.
You know, when they say the Forest Song, all those apartments, the newer ones popping up, how many apartments are
you sure?
in that?
I think at this point, we should be
Oh, okay, I just, okay.
addressing the testimony at hand. The council will have a moment, a time to deliberate
then you'll tell-
after
okay.
we take comment. Okay? All right. Are there other members of the public wishing to testify that had previously testified on this matter? We do have one more, yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, if you could identify yourself for the record, and you have 2 minutes, to address the council.
My name is Lindsay Paradiso. I'm also a resident within the 300-foot parameter of the property. And if you can remind me what I spoke on, I want to make sure that I don't say anything that is outside of what I'm allowed to talk about.
for it right now.
You spoke to, yeah, in general opposition to the rezone based on character, function, and long-range planning vision for the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. In reference to the character, and I think I did also bring this up when I spoke the first time, but when we were made aware of this, my husband and I went around the neighborhood and talked to the neighbors. I took a petition with me, and you should have that in your files. But everyone that I spoke to, we seemed to all be on the same page that we're not against housing. We're just against housing that doesn't make sense for our area. And this is a perfect example of something that doesn't make sense for our area. Things that do make sense, we have a few fourplexes, triplexes, duplexes. That type of thing makes a lot of sense for our area. We don't have sidewalks. I think it was mentioned that this would connect, but I'm honestly not sure how that would be possible, as there's not space to put sidewalks there, and it is a blind curve, so it's a little bit dangerous. But I just wanted to reiterate that this is something that neighbors collectively oppose, and we hope that you take that into consideration. And that'll forgo my comments. I feel like I've sent in enough of my opinion.
All right, thank you for your comments. Anyone from the council wishing to ask any questions from this respondent? All right.
The petition was included in the
packet.
Packet, yes, it was submitted to the hearing examiner. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, we have a Zoom user who has raised their hand, so if they can identify themselves before they start speaking, we can verify.
Someone online with their hand raised with the name of Zoom user. We just need to be able to identify you so that make sure that you're eligible to participate in the deliberation or provide comment.
Just allow him to speak, yeah.
You could speak.
Okay, sorry, I just had to unmute myself. My name is Savannah Coates. I live directly across from said property at 1080 Hill Avenue. My concern is we're talking about sidewalks connecting, and the only way for them to put a sidewalk in is literally to put one on my property. And I'm just confused because I'm not approved of a sidewalk that goes through my property. There's no way to connect them. My property goes right through it. There's no road room. It's super dangerous at the bottom of my driveway. If you try to put a bus stop down there with a bunch of kids, it's going to be probably an issue. There's no place for anybody to walk safely. I don't know if you guys have actually came out here and actually looked at it, which, recommendation would be great if you guys did, because there's no way for them to safely put sidewalks that make it walkable. If there was, there wouldn't be a problem with it, but it's not going to be able to. There's my property that goes from the corner to them, and they're not going to be putting a sidewalk onto my property. Also, we already have, I don't know how many apartments buildings going up, about 300 feet on the other side of us. I'm not sure why we need 500 apartment buildings in this area. I just don't feel like it's a safe thing. And I also don't feel like they're being honest when they say it's going to be a walkable neighborhood, because it's absolutely not without putting a sidewalk on my property, which that's not going to happen. So I guess that would conclude all. My other concern would be the safety of the kids and their bus stops and the blind. There's just no way to make it safe, so I just hope you guys take that into consideration, that there's no way to make it walkable without buying my property. So that would be all.
Thank you for your remarks. And council, do you have any questions for this respondent? Council member?
Just remind me, who was that spoke? What was the name? Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to address the council that previously testified on this matter? We have no other. I see a hand raised there, but that's something else. Okay. All right. All right. It's a repeat. Okay. Perfect. And at this point now, the applicant, if they wish to, may respond to the public commenters, and you would have up to 5 minutes to do so if you wish to.
Yes, regarding the sidewalks, it was our intention, like Forest Song, that the sidewalks would actually be adjacent to the subject property. So I'm not sure where she's getting the idea that it would be on her property. But other than that,
All right.
thanks.
In regards to that, okay?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I realize my script omitted one thing, which is any questions for Mr. Bond from the council to these.
All right, are there any questions for Mr. Bond from the council?
Yes. Okay. Mr. Bond, when was the application date for this rezone?
I can pull that up for you real quick.
Thank you. Ask when was the date of the I don't know why I can't think of the word every time I try to think of the word. No, the change that they're pointing to. I think it's called
The Forest Song rezone? Is that what you're asking about?
No. I'm specifically asking for the rezone application for the property that we're currently talking about. And then I'm also asking about the date the effective date of the I guess GMA, the change in the GMA.
So I can tell you that the comprehensive plan was adopted in December of 2024, right before the end of the year deadline. I don't have the ordinance in front of me to give you the exact date, but it was at the end of the year 2024, and
The application was submitted on March 6, 2025, and was technically complete May 13th, 2025.
Okay.
And that's at page 316 of the packet.
Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Bond?
I probably should ask this of Mr. Larson instead. Was the school district at any time contacted about school bus stops, any issues with for that with student pickup?
No, again, because this is application for just a rezone, we assumed that sort of thing would be addressed when a specific project was presented.
Okay. Thank you.
Additional questions for Director Bond? Hi, so what does a determination of non-significance mean?
So under the State Environmental Policy Act, when we have certain projects that are not exempt from what we call SEPA review, that's an abbreviation for the State Environmental Policy Act, you have to make a threshold determination of either significance, in which case an environmental impact statement is required, or there's a determination of non-significance, and then there's a third type called a mitigated determination of non-significance. In this case, we reviewed the environmental impacts of the proposal and made the determination that there was not an environmental impact of the action of rezoning. But with that said, when development is subsequently proposed, you would review the impacts of that specific development again under SEPA, and that's when you really capture the impacts of actual traffic counts, the number of people walking to and from a site. With a rezone, you're really speculating based on the zoning.
Respond to the school bus question at page 10 of the packet in the hearing examiner decision at page 5. He speaks to this issue. Safety issues along the frontage of the rezone area can be mitigated during subsequent project review. Should any school bus stops be located off-site, the city can require reasonable off-site improvements such as cleared shoulders to provide safe school bus access for school children.
Thank you.
I was also going to note that when we issue a SEPA determination, the school district is notified under our standard mailing, and so that's the extent of any direct notification that they would receive.
Councilmember Fenton?
Yeah, when you sent out that video for us to watch like a month ago and then to listen to the testaments and the examiner, I watched that thing like 3 times. I don't remember anything about there was a petition?
Petition that was
Yes.
signed by, you don't recall?
Not on the video.
It was an exhibit to the record, and so it was a written piece of testimony that was transmitted to the hearing examiner, and if you go to the index, you should see that listed as one of the exhibits to the hearing examiner.
It must have been, yeah, on the, I mean, I knew it was in our packet to, on
So it was submitted,
Friday, but-
submitted in writing to the hearing examiner. It wasn't testified to, I don't believe.
Well, actually, as we were reviewing some of the testimony, it looks like
Was
a
it?
few of the commenters did reference the petition in their public comments. They may have done it very quickly, so you may not have caught it in the
'cause,
transcript.
yeah, I heard it tonight, but yeah, I don't, because I was watching that thing pretty closely.
And then it's referenced multiple times in the hearing examiner's decision, where he addresses issues raised in the petition as well.
Councilmember Warden?
The site in question, R2 to R3, how many, I'm not sure if I should ask the gentleman, how many units, what's the difference in the units between R2 and R3 for this site, for the plan?
That's not a totally easy to answer question because, number one, when you apply for development, you're going to have to go through critical areas review to find out how much of the site is actually usable versus unusable. And then different building types have different limits in terms of how many units can be in that building type. So until the developer chooses which building type they want to develop, we can't establish how many possible units there are. But under the R3 zone, the apartment building type does not have a limit on the number of units except to the extent that you have to provide parking, and there's a height limit on the building, and there are setbacks and lot coverage standards. So it really depends on whether they're providing studio apartments or 3 or 4 bedroom apartments in terms of how many they can physically fit into a building. It's more of a design exercise than a numerical limit within our code. No, we have adopted a parking code that has standards for residential use consistent with recently passed legislation.
Councilmember Diener, go ahead.
Director Bond, the staff recommendation to the hearing examiner was neutral. The staff report found that the application met code, but at the same time there was opposition to the application. At what point or where do you draw the line in the sand when an application meets code and is otherwise supportable, but there's opposition? And how much opposition becomes noteworthy in tripping that recommendation into a neutral status versus one of support?
Well, I think, there are criteria for granting, and they are very qualitative, and ultimately, this is a discretionary action of the city council. I believe the code says something along the lines of, there's no presumption of validity favoring the action of rezoning, and that means that just because you meet the criteria doesn't mean that the city council has to grant that rezone, and so it is, in that sense, your legislative role on whether to rezone the property.
It is not your legislative role.
Sorry.
That's all right. So quasi-judicial versus legislative, those are your two distinct functions. And a legislative act has legislative immunity. You're acting as a legislative body, whereas quasi-judicial, you're acting as a judge. And you're evaluating the property rights of an individual applicant, as you know. And so just to clarify that point. And to, as far as what the director said as it relates to the criteria utilized when the department determines if they're going to issue a supporting opinion versus a neutral one, the record should speak for itself as to that. Director Bond cannot add additional information about sort of the process by which the department came to that. So it simply says department acknowledges substantial public opposition.
Fair enough, thank you.
Director Bond, when it states substantial, or maybe this is for Ms. Archer, when it states substantial change, is substantial change defined as, let's say an applicant was not eligible to be zoned as R3 previously, and now there's been a change so that now they can be zoned as R3. Is that what substantial change means?
Can you point me to where you're seeing that phrase?
Sorry.
I just ran a word search and I can't find it.
Yeah, okay. So when we were looking at the criteria.
The changed condition criteria?
Yeah, they changed, you said it. So I'm trying to understand that, unpack that a little bit more for my understanding. When it talks about that criteria, does it mean that there was a substantial change in the sense of this substantial change now allows the applicant to be eligible for zoning that they were not previously eligible for?
And for the rest of the council's benefit, the analysis of the hearing examiner on that criteria is set out at page 13 of the packet, page 8 of the decision, just so that we're all on the same page. The criteria referenced there, can you go back to the code, please? Is that the following general provisions apply to the review of site-specific rezone applications. Subpart 2, the proponents of the rezone have the burden of proof to demonstrate that conditions have changed since the original zoning. The hearing examiner comments, Washington appellate courts require that the proponents of a rezone must establish that conditions have substantially changed since the original showing, and that the rezone must bear a substantial relationship to the public health, safety, morals, or welfare. If a rezone implements the comprehensive plan, a showing that a change of circumstances has occurred is not required. The change circumstances requirement provides for stability in zoning designations that can be relied upon by property owners. The city's requirement for changed conditions is arguably more stringent than the judicial standard, since the city's code doesn't offer comprehensive plan implementation as an alternative. A changing condition identified in the staff report is development of the 10-acre Forest Song apartment complex site just southwest of the project site at the southwest condition of the Sherman-Hull Avenue intersection. That site was rezoned R3 in 1977, but is only currently being developed. So the proposal clearly implements comprehensive plan policies that encourage middle housing and a wide diversity of housing types. As testified by Director Bond, those policies were adopted in 2024 and thus constitute a change in circumstances. This change is reflected in several bills adopted by the state legislature, starting with a 2021 amendment to the Growth Management Act to require cities to analyze and plan for future housing across a variety of income ranges and housing unit types. That is the analysis of the hearing examiner as to whether the proposal meets the substantially changed condition.
Is that typical?
Yes. Well, this is what the hearing examiner is saying. So and I see no legal infirmity with his analysis.
Okay. Is that something that is, again, I apologize, I'm just trying to understand this. Is that something that is normally considered or looked at? Does a hearing examiner normally look at whether somebody was previously, they could have applied for R3 and didn't, and now they're applying for it? Or, is that ever looked at?
Yes, this is a standard criteria upon which you evaluate a rezone because you have adopted a zoning map, correct, consistent with the legislative findings of the body, and now you have an applicant seeking to modify as to one parcel the zoning designation you've given it. So it's typical for there to be a requirement that the applicant justify based on a change in conditions from when the zoning map was adopted that warrants a rezone, a site-specific rezone for that parcel. So yes, this is an established criteria for rezone evaluation in Washington state law. The hearing examiner also notes that we don't have an exception for comprehensive plan compliance to the changed condition, and he notes that they meet that exception that is normally afforded.
Councilmember Fenton?
I thought Forest Song was rezoned in '08, not '77.
I don't have the complete record of that case, but I know that there was a first phase for a song that was proposed in 2008 that was approved, and then that entitlement expired, and so they had to then reapply at a later date. And so I think what happened in 2008 may have been a subdivision application or some other development permit that had been filed, but that was before I arrived at the city, and I don't have those records in front of me.
Questions for Mr. Bond?
One more, sorry. So for middle housing capacity, I think you specifically mentioned 0 to 80% AMI. I'm trying to look for the page. I just remember reading that. And the city's goal of having more of that type of housing. Are townhomes considered that type of housing, I guess?
So according to the Department of Commerce guidance that we were provided as part of our comprehensive plan update, there are different income bands, and then there are housing types that are considered to be typically affordable to those income bands. And so I'm going off of recollection, I believe that townhomes were in the 100 to 120% AMI band. It's the only building type that is sub 80% affordability without like a multifamily tax exemption type subsidy is going to be an apartment building.
Saying it must be apartment building.
Per the Commerce guidance.
No, that's helpful because that wasn't clear at all for me previously reading that.
All right, any last questions? Council will now begin deliberations because this is a quasi-judicial proceeding pursuant to RCW 42.30.1402. The City Council will enter into a closed sessions for these deliberations.
I have one more question. I really do. I apologize, y'all. I just have one more question. I just wanted to ask a quick question about the number of units. Thank you. So the number of units in this the townhomes as in R2, I would say. How many units was that? Because there was like a lot of. If you can explain that to me versus because I know now they're saying 18 townhome units and how many apartment units? I should have asked this. I apologize. I just thought of this. I should have asked this to the applicant. But if I could have that number.
Okay, I'm not able to tell you that because the code in R2 allows 4 units per lot. And then there's a minimum lot size for the R2 zone, but you have to figure out how to arrange.
No, you said that. I apologize. It was in the record. I just can't. I'll just look at the record on my own.
Okay.
And I think I found the citation. So it says the applicant testified that under the R2 zone, he could build 75 townhome bedrooms compared to 100 bedrooms for apartments in the R3 zone. That's the reference to townhomes I see.
Okay. Okay, the City Council will now begin deliberations because this is a quasi-judicial proceeding pursuant to RCW 4230.1402. The City Council will enter a closed session for these deliberations. The City Council will return in 10 minutes unless the City Council extends the deliberation period. This extension will be publicly announced. The City Council may take action following the deliberation period. So we are now heading into closed session for 10 minutes.
upstairs and get.
crowding you there. Okay, Janine, are we live again? Yes, we are. Okay. Councilmember Fenton? Okay, the council has completed its deliberations on this closed record matter. Council members, is there a motion on this matter? Diener?
I apologize for the delay. I was looking for a motion, but there's not one represented, and I understand why. But I would make a motion affirming the hearing examiner decision.
Second.
By Councilmember Diener and a second by Councilmember Morrissey affirming the hearing examiner's decision for the site-specific rezone for 1601 and 1083 Hull Avenue, and staff is requested to prepare a written findings and decisions consistent with the council's motion. Any discussions at this point? Councilmember Diener?
I would like to note that I have read the staff report and recommendation. I've read the hearing examiner decision and the revised decision, and the index to the record and the applicable code 20.42.030 of Port Orchard Municipal Code. I do not find that the hearing examiner erred in their interpretation of code, and I support the decision as recommended by the hearing, as decided by the hearing examiner.
Councilmember Fenton, go ahead.
I say nay on the criteria of the rezoning within that area of R2 going to R3. I think the density with apartments are huge around the corner, and we do not, I think that neighborhood, that area should stay at R2.
Comments from the City Council?
I believe that the hearing examiner misapplied POMC 20.42.030.2C, and that the plan is consistent with the area characteristics.
Other comments? Okay, you'll be voting on the hearing examiner for the site-specific rezone for 1601 and 1083 Hull Avenue. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Yeah, it passes 5-2. All right, we are moving on to our normal council business at this time. Jump to that agenda. We are to our citizen comment period now. Anyone wishing to address the city council has 3 minutes, and please identify yourself for the record.
Yeah, my name is Bob Showers, and I'd like to read a email that I sent to the mayor and the council concerning the statement in the Kitsap Sun. I just heard a statement concerning the events in Minneapolis put out by the mayor. My first question is why? Second question is, did the city council agree with this statement? I would assume there was some type of vote to allow this, since the mayor represents the council, or does the mayor get to make comments without any criteria? I don't know why this was done, especially since the investigations are not complete. Has the mayor or council already condemned the federal agents? The mayor stated, and I quote, "The current actions surrounding the immigration enforcement are frightening to many in the community. I want you to know that I hear your concern and take it seriously. I don't understand why the immigration enforcement is frightening. Are there that many around here breaking the law? It is so sad when the cities and states won't help the federal immigration officers get the bad people out of here. Washington State, and I guess now Port Orchard, has decided to release the criminals into the community instead of allowing ICE to come into the jails and get the criminals. What do you think is going to happen when ICE and other federal agencies are going into the community? Again, it is sad. I just wish the mayor and council could represent the whole community and not get involved in national issues. Another issue with this statement affects our police department. I feel sorry for them. With this statement, is the mayor and council condoning people spitting in police officers' faces, destruction of taxpayer vehicles, doxing of officers and their families, and destruction of businesses in so-called peaceful protests? This is happening. Get outside the local news and this state's news and you will see it. I wonder how the Port Orchard Police Department would handle someone pulling their car in front of their cruisers, constantly blowing their whistles, horns, shouting obscenities at them, and interfering with their work. Anyone can see this shouldn't happen. The loss of life is a tragedy, but the tragedy also includes lives lost by the hands of illegal immigrants. Are you concerned about them? I could go on, but I can tell most have already made up their minds. Federal law is federal law, and Port Orchard should work with the federal agencies to provide a safe environment for all. The mayor and the council need to focus on problems in our city. If you Google the crime rate in Port Orchard, you'll see what I mean. Homelessness, abandoned cars, and trash are beginning to be the norm for Port Orchard. The police are a very important part of Port Orchard, and before the mayor or council go off and voice their opinions on issues they shouldn't be getting involved in, maybe they should ask how these statements affect our community. And I tried to ram that into 3 minutes.
Thank you for your
I
comments.
do appreciate the councilman that did reply to that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to address the council? If you're online, you can use the raise your hand feature, and the clerk would bring you into the meeting. Hands raised, so I'm going to close the first citizen comment period. We have a published consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Councilmember Diener.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Diener, second by Councilmember Trineri to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda has been approved. We have no presentations. We do have 2 business items, the first of which is adoption of an ordinance amending Port Orchard Municipal Code, Section 1530-020, 1530-070, and 1530-100 pertaining to illicit discharge and stormwater system. Mr. Ryan, I believe you're online. Okay.
Should note for the record that he stepped out.
And for the record, Councilmember Warden has recused himself from this matter. Go ahead, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council. The city regulates stormwater flow under the NPDES permit to manage runoff, prevent flooding, and protect water quality. In 2022, council adopted ordinance 143-22, updating regulations on illicit discharges that safeguard public health and water resources. Since adoption, staff have identified technical amendments to the chapter 15.30. These changes incorporate language from the state law for consistency, add provisions requested by the Department of Ecology under the NPDES permit. These updates do not change the current practices. They simply align with code and existing operations and federal and state regulations. These codes changes are minor. You'll see the word municipal and just referencing stormwater quite a bit in the amendments, but other than that, it's fairly straightforward. Thank you.
Councilmember Morrissey.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance amending sections 15.30.020, 15.30.070, and 15.30.100 of the Port Orchard Municipal Code pertaining to the regulation of illicit discharges to the stormwater system.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Morrissey, a second by Councilmember Fenton. Any questions of Mr. Ryan on this matter? Voting on the changes to amending Port Orchard Municipal Code related to illicit discharge and stormwater system. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, this passes unanimously. I'm going to catch Mr. Warden and bring him back.
And Mayor, may I interject that the next business item is also related to stormwater? It's just surplusing equipment, so I wasn't sure if he wanted to recuse himself for this item as well, or if it doesn't apply. Yes.
It's stormwater equipment.
It's just surplus.
Surplusing equipment, okay.
All right. Our next item is adoption of a resolution declaring certain personal property as surplus and authorizing the disposal thereof. Ms. Wallace, this is you.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council. Assets of the city that are no longer usable, are no longer of value to the city, or are surplus to the city's needs may be removed from the city's ownership, sold, or in any other way disposed with a declaration of surplus by the City Council. Staff is asking that the council to surplus various water quality monitoring equipment as depicted in the Exhibit A attached to the packet provided before you this evening, which is attached to the resolution, and belonging to the Stormwater Utility Fund. The Finance Department has estimated the current value of all the personal property listed to be $4,145. While items were acquired for public utility purposes, the value of the property is less than $50,000. Therefore, a public hearing is not required pursuant to RCW 35.94.040 subsection 2. Although the city's internal asset value of the items have been determined to be of low value, any monies from those sales of surplus property will be deposited into the funds which own them. When the disposal is to the general public through direct sale, sealed bid, or auction, final determination of value shall be to the highest responsible bid or offer. The city may transfer a surplus asset to another public agency upon written request, and a determination that is in the public best of the public interest. Staff will dispose the items in a manner that reflects the best interest of the city. Therefore, staff recommends adoption of a resolution declaring personal property as surplus and allowing for the disposition thereof.
Peter, go ahead.
May I make a motion to adopt a resolution declaring personal property as described as surplus and authorizing its disposition?
Second. Motion by Councilmember Diener, and that was Councilmember Morrissey for the second. Okay. Any questions of Ms. Wallace? This is just equipment we don't need any longer, and we're getting surplusing it and getting rid of it. So, all right, you'll be voting on a resolution declaring certain property surplus and authorizing for the disposal of it. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes unanimously. We've got a couple of discussion items, the first of which is the wonderful training course that you get to pick this evening, and Ms. Lund is here to walk you through your choices.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. As you know, the city is insured for liability coverage through the RMSA organization, and they do require one annual training of all elected officials. Historically, the City Council has chosen one topic, which you can do online through a webinar format. And if you all choose the same topic, it makes it really easy on HR to assign that to all of you. Part of the information in your packet is there are other ways you can individually meet this criteria. And if you do that, we can remove your name from that webinar list, so you won't be getting those reminders every 30 days.
I think one of the alternative methods is if you're attending the annual conference and attend a course at one of the conferences, then you just need to let the HR know what class you attended, and that will satisfy the requirement. But if you're not attending the annual conference, you'll need to likely select one of these courses. And as she indicated, if everybody that chooses that option picks the same course, then it's a little easier to administer. And the clerk would like to know, actually, too, if you're intending to go to the conference. So,
Conference.
okay, so we've got Scott. You're going to head to Spokane this year.
Oh, no, I thought we were going to talk about that in class.
Okay, so I've got 1, 2 for sure going to the conference.
Oh, yeah.
I emailed her already.
Okay, so we got 4 of
I'm
you.
also doing the essentials, Director Lund, FYI, because that counts, right? The essentials? So I'm just noting that for you, that I'll be doing the essentials.
Sounds like you're already taken care of. So, Councilmember Diener, Councilmember Rosapepe, and Councilmember Terneri. It sounds like you three. You guys,
Go for it, Scott.
So, I think some of us have taken the harassment classes and workplace bullying. The only new one, for me anyways, over the years is the Guide to Eliminating Employment Claim Risk.
Works for me.
okay. You guys made it easy.
Miss Lund, I'd take that just as well, even though I'm
Ooh,
going.
He's getting bonus training.
I guess.
What I will do is I will have it assigned to all of you, and so you'll all get the invite to participate in the webinar, and then as you individually notify me that you've done one of the other options, how you can remove your name. That way, we get all of our bases covered.
That way we're tracking, and it gives us a tracking mechanism. With the exception that Councilmember Dedman has already satisfied her training requirement, it sounds
Above and
like.
beyond.
Well, I think this is the separate one. This is like the 6-parter, right? I haven't done my first part yet.
All I know is it needs to take place in 2026.
It's gonna happen next month.
Okay, so we'll
Okay.
put you on the webinar list, and you can
Okay.
let me know when you.
Yeah, I'll do that for
Okay,
sure.
as soon as you've completed the class, let her know and what it was and,
I would like to point out, I already did that local planning course, just saying.
all right. Retreat dates, has everybody got their calendar with them? Pull our calendars out, we're gonna look at, I've got some dates to propose.
Supposed to bring my calendar?
You're supposed to bring your calendar. Remember, we talked about this last meeting. All right,
it's in the
talked about,
agenda.
I got 2 April dates, a May date, it's not ideal, and I hope we don't have to go to June.
What do you
So,
got? What's
starting
the
with
first one?
April 3rd. Could everybody do April 3rd?
I have a doctor appointment that day. Looking up the calendar.
Okay. 17th of April?
Good for me.
Don't you want to do it on a Friday?
That was the direction I got from you guys.
I think so.
That works for me.
17th is,
Yeah, my
goodness, really?
Wow, that was easy.
Yeah, that's better than the third. The third's Easter weekend.
Okay.
That's Good Friday.
17th
so
it is?
I like
Oh, my
the third.
goodness, I can't believe this is happening. Well, it hasn't happened yet, we'll see.
Yeah, wait till I go home.
So
and I
17th of
box it.
April.
17th of April. All right, next question for you. For the last probably 6 years, the city council has given the direction that they don't want any staff other than a facilitator. Prior to the last 6 years, the directors each gave a 10 to 15-minute presentation on their priorities, what they feel they're I guess, hopeful for or what their needs are, I guess is a better way to put that. Would you like to hear from the directors directly, or would you prefer I gather that information from the directors and bring it to the council? That's been the direction over the last few years, but prior to that, it was done differently.
I'm comfortable with them just giving you the information.
Me too.
I'd like to suggest we pepper that information through February and March's study sessions so that we're not surprised by any of that walking into a priority setting session and we've had time to deliberate on the things that they're asking for us. I think trying to be strategic so that we can have outcomes from that day would be my vote.
And I'd like to add, I think it would be useful if we could get everybody's ideas shared earlier so that it may realign some of our priorities. So
I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
Is that what you're trying to get? Okay. You and I are
If
on
we
the
hear
same
it
page. Yeah.
early, right, and we pepper it in study sessions long before we get to that date, then we've had time to marinate on it and.
Yeah.
It won't be realistic next week. It's packed. But I can try to gather that from all of you guys and have it to you,
March
you know, sometime before the end of March would be the goal. I would gather information from staff. I've already been kind of picking up ideas that you guys have tossed around already and putting them on it. But yeah, why don't you guys your priorities, if you could, because we can't have a chain meeting. If you could send them to me, and I'll work the same way with the staff, try to compile a list that I get out to you guys by the end of March. Is that a workable plan? And then we come into the couple weeks later, almost 3 weeks later, then you got 3 weeks to noodle on the ideas that have been thrown at you.
Sure.
So kind of the format I'm seeing, our new public information person is starting about the first of the month. I would have that person come to that meeting to be the scribe for us and put stuff up on the screen, and then I think it's always important, is a reminder, and it's very important for Councilmember Dedman. She doesn't know a lot of the commitments that we already have, and so as we set our priorities too, to be, a brief portion of the meeting at the beginning is, these are all the things that we've already got in the works. Then there's the short term, and then I'd like some long-term visioning from you guys too, because it's the next couple of budgets, are going to be short term, but there's opportunity for that. I mean, we're talking about it at transportation, some of these long-range ideas and goals out there, and so I think we need to be looking, what are those next big initiatives out there, and so be thinking about that. All right, that was too easy. Council committee reports, economic development, tourism, you just met earlier this week, so.
We did. I'll take it on because the first order of business at that committee meeting was electing a chair, and that'll be me. So I'll be giving this report from here on out. I will always ask the ladies to help me along the way. We received a report from KEDA. They went over their operations results from Q4. We had an update on feedback from essentially the Downtown Revitalization Grant Program. Director Bond shared that they haven't had a lot of feedback, so we are still asking all kinds of folks. So if you know anyone who is a property owner or business owner downtown, please have them get in touch with DCD and get back to them on how we can deploy the dollars we set aside for revitalization downtown. Director Bond went over a couple of pre-app meetings. Nothing huge of note. I think the coolest thing I heard that could be is maybe changing and removing the coffee stand up on one of the gas stations up on Bethel and putting a drive-through oil change. That was an interesting topic. And then the mayor gave us an update on changes to our downtown beautification, as well as a brief update on kind of where we're at, and I'm sure he's going to talk about the $3 million that got allocated from the federal dollars. And that was the high-level details of our meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Utilities, did you meet this evening or not?
No, we did not meet tonight.
Okay.
Our meeting was canceled. We did have a SAC meeting.
Okay, would you like to give a report?
I was going to. We had our first SAC meeting, much like economic development. We did elect a chair, so I'll be giving that report from now on for utilities in SAC. SAC was a informational meeting with a tour. We went over past projects, equipment projects from 2025 and forecast for 2026. Just to bring that up, we are still waiting for word from Department of Ecology on the permit for the facility, but that's something that a lot of the cities are working through. No red flags there at this point. Our next SAC meeting is June 16th at 3:30, and it was volunteered to have it at the Red Lemson building to show it off. So that's going to be pretty cool. So that's my report.
Right, so Finance Committee meets next week. Transportation met this evening.
We did.
Eric, you're the chair.
I am. We met to discuss Tremont. We're trying to narrow down options to bring forth this coming Tuesday. And lot to consider. A lot of pieces that have to work together between the amount of real estate needed, WashDOT requirements, communities' previous input with the bike path, bike lanes. There's a lot to go into it. So we worked really hard. 2 meetings in a row, actually, we've had already, to try and narrow it down for the best 2 options to bring forth for next week. Bike paths, sidewalks, multi-use paths. We basically have gone over every option possible, and that's probably why our meeting is going to be so full next week, is going over that. Yeah, Jay?
I'm sorry, I may have misheard it. What road did you say again?
Tremont.
Tremont, okay.
From the Boulevard to Sydney.
Yeah.
Okay, just
Boulevard to
that
Sydney,
area.
that
I'm
little-
sorry, yeah,
little
that's why I
section.
was going, okay, that small
Yeah,
section.
north side, south side.
No, I got it, I was just
Yeah.
making sure I heard it right.
Councilman Dare has really good suggestions. Mark does, I do. I mean, everybody has a bunch of ideas. We just got to narrow it down. So that's the only topic so far.
Okay, it looks like land use meets
Next week.
next week. And backing up to transportation too, the staff shared too the county's phased plan for Lund from Bethel, on Bethel towards Jackson. That segment of there's 4 different projects the county has planned over the next 2 of them in 2026, 1 in 27, and 1 in 28. So that was interesting information too. So if you're interested in what those look like, pop on and look at the meeting minutes.
Are we in coordination with the different phases of Bethel?
It'll actually, the way it's, 2 of their phases will happen before we get to Bethel Phase 1.
Good. But I'm imagining we're going to siphon off traffic in different directions because of that. I want to make sure that's
And actually,
part of our thought process.
they'll actually get 3 of those phases, which are all the roundabouts. And then there's one segment that is like turning it into somewhat like Tremont, where it's got a median down the center of it, the last segment. Let's see here. Coffee with council. Is there anything to report from that?
I've been overwhelmed this weekend. I don't have anything I'll sit down and email, but I believe Scott has.
Here's what I would propose is that each person that attends emails out their own report, because I think then Eric isn't having to try and herd cats with getting other people's
We also have our
reports.
own interpretation of what we heard and saw and feel. So
Yeah.
So do you want me to not put it on this list to call on you guys here then? Because you're going to send it to the clerk and then she's going to disseminate it to you guys?
That's the way it should work.
I'm okay.
Do a report? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, well, yeah.
If there's certain hot topics that come up, I would I'll share them. You know,
So
up here.
maybe in good of the order versus in calling it out here?
I think that just makes it easier for reporting.
No, I think that, I concur that individually we send it to Brandy, Brandy can send it to the council, and if anybody has a hot topic, then that would be good to bring it up, good to the order. I agree with that, Eric.
Okay, so you got that to take that off of my list? Perfect.
A question on Coffee with the Council. I mean, I know you guys will say, oh, talk to the department head, or you guys can answer the questions from the constituents, but how does every question get answered? And
I think that's what your report should indicate, is resolution of, if any.
Oh, because
if
a lot
needed.
of times I just see, oh, this was the topic, this is what they want. So there's going to be a resolution with the question?
Possibly.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't have to be a paragraph, right?
No.
But just that, maybe the answer is I advise so-and-so to talk to Dennis.
Example, there was a really tight street in McCormick Woods. Homeowner has concerns with it because of the parking, and they're not getting any parking enforcement on that street. It's almost a one-way street to Amherst. So I took their concerns. I went to Director Bond, emailed him with it, and he gave me a really nice email reply back that I can give to that homeowner.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I kind of feel like if I'm going to put myself out there to get the questions, I'm going to deliver them.
Get them
And make sure that they get answered.
get them.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay, good.
I got one more question on Coffee with Council. Charlie, this is for you. We had when this was started, we had a limit of 3 council members. And part of that is so that we don't have a quorum because we're not affecting business. But I know that we can have more council members there as long as we're not conducting city business. I mean, in some cases, more people can make coffee with council than other times. Is this something that would preclude?
We'd have to notice, we need to know ahead of time.
I understand that, but at our last meeting before we go into it, like there was 3 there this time. I could have gone, but I didn't because we kind of had to limit to 3. And I'm just trying to find out, are we going to run into any issue, or is it just better to go just 3? It works out pretty well that way, so I'm just asking.
Yeah, so I think that the most conscientious approach is to only hold non-meetings with a smaller than quorum. As we've talked about with OPMA violations, it's not just whether or not one's actually occurring, but it's the appearance of one, right? So if there's 4 of you gathered, even if you've committed not to talk, there's a risk associated with someone perceiving that to be an OPMA violation. As long as you are physically in the same space and you are passively receiving information from the public, from a training, if you're not discussing amongst yourselves in any way, then there's no OPMA violation, even if a quorum are present, because there's no business being done.
Right.
But again, someone just passively seeing more than 3 could infer an OPMA case, could create a lawsuit, which itself has turmoil and consequences for the city, even though it's meritless.
I'm comfortable with that because it happens so seldom. But I just want to think that when we commit to these town halls, I would say there's probably a pretty good chance that we're going to have a quorum.
Yeah, and we'll notice it.
And we'll notice it.
Hopefully.
Okay. So,
Hopefully do.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right, on to the mayor's report. So I know you think it's getting late, but 1976, 50 years ago, numerous items were on the agenda that evening, and the meeting lasted until 10:15. We now have code that requires a motion to be made at 9:30. The most notable of the items on that agenda was a request by Hunt Mobile Homes. I don't know if you remember that, down in Gorst many years ago. And they asked the city council to consider changing its code to allow mobile homes on city lots. Prior to that code being changed, they were only allowed in mobile home parks. And 75 years ago, in 1951, the city took action to call the 1940 sewer bonds and repay them. And the city council also authorized $15.80 to purchase books for the library. So 100 years ago, in 1926, the Parks Committee set a date for the community cleanup for the old fairgrounds property, that is known as Givens Park. And they also appointed Jay Nurenberger as the live-on property caretaker in that evening. So, as I mentioned, I believe at the last meeting, May 16th is going to be our community cleanup day. I've been sharing that date with others. I know it's the same day as Bremerton's Armed Forces Day Parade, but that's later in the day, and hopefully...
And Viking Fest.
And Viking Fest, too. Oh, great. So we'll be early in the morning, only a few hours, so hopefully people can still join us. Let's see here. On January 30th, I spoke at and was able to participate in Housing Kitsap's key ceremony over at the Riverstone development, and that's the housing development there by the Lund Bridge, and that's the program where these 10 families came together and built each other's homes with professional help, and it's just such a cool thing to see. These folks have built relationships, and it built a community and come together. I really enjoy going to those ceremonies as they get their keys. John, you saw the email that the federal budget was passed, and our $3.5 million for Bay Street reconstruction was included in it. We are still reaching out to WashDOT local programs to attain our formal funding letter, which will have hopefully the terms and eligible expenditures for that. So that's really kind of the next step we're at. I'm feeling very good about this funding. So I know staff has a meeting scheduled on Tuesday with Finance and Public Works to work through some details on that. So more to report on that later. And also the beautification money. I've been meeting with the Merchants Association. And Brandy, could you bring up those renderings at this time? We've been talking about different options, and I'll show you two different versions. The merchants are advocating for, and she needs to scroll down a little bit. So where we have the existing picnic tables on the pads, and these would be made out of sequoia, milled sequoia, and then the framework, and then they'd be bolted down. And Brandy, we believe, and we're going to go down and confirm measurements, that we can get 2 of those picnic tables per pad, and then we would put one on the center of the observation deck, and then go to the next slide, Brandy. And those would be the benches. Now that particular piece of wood is recycled, and it has a lot more character. It's cracked and things. The proposal is actually for the milled sequoia. They just didn't have a picture of the milled sequoia, but it would be the same dimension, just cleaner.
8 foot long.
I believe it's
12 by 12 by 8.
Yeah, 12 by 12 by 8. So as a bench. And we'd have 3 of those on the perimeter. Brandy, if you go to the next slide.
And those are, if I may, those are treated then, so they've got
they're varnished, and they would need to be sanded as needed to take out graffiti, and then varnished. It's recommended twice a year. It's a marine.
Yeah, it's a boat finish.
Yep, exactly. It's a marine product.
Pretty cool looking.
Yeah, and they're so. If
My suggestion is to put little brackets on it. So no skateboarders.
Skateboarders, yeah.
That's pretty easy to do. So.
Yeah, we've got those down at Turner Park. My initial proposal was these benches, these are the 2 picnic tables that we would replace down at Turner Park, and it's consistent with the things we have there. The merchants really they felt these were kind of cold in comparison to the wood. Public Works is a little concerned about the wood, but it'll just have a little more maintenance to it. So
it's gonna be a lot of carving. We can just
and it just need to get sand. It is great big thick lumber, so so might need some wood putty, and so I'm just sharing with you what's being asked.
Do you want any feedback, or
certainly?
Okay, could you go back to the previous bench? I really like the bench. However, as folks age out, not having a backrest sitting there sometimes can be difficult for some. So that's my only feedback.
Okay, and we do have benches down the waterfront, though, that do have benches.
I know that. Along the whole pathway, we do. It was just that if we're putting it in this one site, might be something to think about. That's all.
Is that going on the observation, those ones?
These would be the benches, the 3 benches that go on the perimeter around the circle there on the observation deck, and then a picnic table in the center of it, and then it's proposed that 2 picnic tables per pad. We just got to go down and verify that all fits in there. And since these are custom made, if they need to be a foot shorter or a little narrower, they could be. This is the proposal. This is pretty much a standard size, and they're being custom made, so they could be made a different size if they have to be to fit.
Is that ADA compliant? I don't know that, it doesn't look like it.
Well, you could pull up to the end of it.
Put a chair right there on the end of it, wheelchair.
I like the look and feel. It's going to match our community event center when it comes to fruition. So I think I like this.
Beautiful.
Okay.
I-
Appreciate the feedback.
I like it too. I'm concerned about maintenance.
Go back. Let's go back to the garbage cans there, Brandy. One more slide. So we're also being asked to update some of our garbage cans. Particularly the ones, but on the waterfront aren't very attractive.
Unless you like 55-gallon drums.
Yeah, well, not those. Those are the ports. I'm referring to the ones that are aggregate, and then we've got some other ones mid-block downtown. So I would love to be able to replicate the ones that have garbage and recycling in them. They've been discontinued for one, and if they hadn't been discontinued, they were over $4,000 a piece 8 years ago. These are $2,000 a piece, so this is kind of what we can go into what we can afford. You know, they've got the weather protection over the top of them so they don't fill up with rain, and so you know, probably 8 or 10 of these garbage cans is about what we can afford with these dollars. Mr. Trenary?
I want to move back because I was processing. I am concerned about the maintenance on those benches and the picnic tables as well. They're very nice looking, but is there a way or possibility we can look at a different type of coating, like a urethane coating or something that doesn't take 2 times a year maintenance and update, that can maybe seal off those cracks and that wood a little bit more to get a little more life out of them before they need that maintenance? Just saying. I'm worried about that.
Durability, I would say whatever we work with, the most durable.
Yeah, whatever.
It is big, thick pieces of lumber, and they're recommending that a marine finish on it.
Yeah,
you know.
I'm just thinking about people who are going to start carving away.
It's going to happen. You're right, and fortunately can be sanded. Public Works is advocating for the steel. I'm just sharing that, and Councilmember Morrissey's correct. This is going to be more consistent with the look and feel of the plaza and the community center. We've got the garbage cans. Adam Smith has already returned the contract for the mural, but Dennis and I need to go meet with the Port of Bremerton. That's their property, and we're going to do that. Gary Anderson said it's not a problem, but he's one of 3, and so we're going, end of the month, going to the Port of Bremerton meeting to get their formal permission to put that mural up. Public Works is working on getting the other artist under contract. We've got there at the end of the ferry dock, we've got that wayfinding pillar that has the map in it. The map is outdated. We're looking to change out the map, and it's probably gonna be a map. That current map has the streets and has businesses on it. I think we're just gonna go with something with the streets and possibly a QR code, and then you would walk up with your phone and be able to find businesses in that manner. So Josh Johnson is working on that project. We're also working on, hopefully he mentioned this in his presentation, that scavenger hunt with the little sea creatures that will be made out of cut steel. The example of that is the blue herons that are down at the end of Blackjack Creek so a whole about a dozen of these would be scattered throughout the waterfront. And so he's working to get the artwork donated. Once I have that artwork, then we'll look to somebody who's got I think it's called a CNC machine, and they cut that steel out, and then Public Works would put those in place. They're asking for a bike rack down by the Marina Pump Station. Probably need one down there. We don't have one. Got one by the library. Public Works is going to pressure wash all the sidewalks before May 16th, which is the Mosquito Fleet Days event. There's a request by Sarah Butler for, they're going to do a paint party. She's got a painting contractor that will paint the marquee for us, and we will buy the paint for that. She'd like to change the color of it from green to blue. I don't get to pick colors at home, so I told her to give me an example of that color, and I would bring it back to you guys. So she's working on that. Probably the next big one is to do, when Monsieur did the facade improvements to Myrie's, and we've got the black insets on the windows and the doors, to do some historic photos on banner type material and fill those openings with historic photos.
He's cool with that?
Yeah, and that, yes, he is. At least his agent says he is. And so that came from the merchants. And then it was a mixed bag from the merchants wanting either flags on our poles downtown and hanging baskets. And I know Councilmember Fenton's been advocating for a few years for the hanging baskets. I think where we're going to put like every other pole. And so that was kind of the compromise that came out of the Merchants Association board meeting. And so Josh Johnson is working on the design for the flag. There were some examples of that in the presentation that he did. I think one side of it says anchored in community and has the Port Orchard established, and I'm not certain what the other side's going to have. So I'll bring those examples back when we get farther along. But we've made a lot of progress, and more to come. So, Councilor?
I know this has come up before, but has any thought, I know thought has been given, but has any request come from the merchants regarding utility boxes? We've talked about wraps on those before.
We have one down there that we're going to at least get painted. That's the only, I think there's only one, well, excuse me, there's one on Bay Street too, but that's the state's.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes a difference.
We have one that's got a little, that the graffiti's been covered, but it needs to be repainted.
Yep.
And so just to blend in with, because in the summertime, the plants, it's buried in the landscaping down there. It's by the marina.
I got a question. What about a bike rack over by the farmer's market? And, because there's a lot of activity that goes down there. And because I remember someone was asking, a bike rack down in that area.
That could be an ask for the port. Remember that property down there over there is theirs, but but I can bring that up to Gary Anderson. Yeah.
Can we make sure that they put a bike rack that has 2 attachment points, 2 locking points? That's kind of the standard. It might even be in our code that we have that. So versus the old, bike racks that look like that.
Oh, we don't. That's pretty much the standard out there.
It's not what the recommended standard is by the biking industry. They want 2 attachment points for locking so that they can secure front wheels, back wheels, frame, all that.
Okay.
It might be in our code too. No? Okay.
Okay. All right. I think that's it.
Oh, I have one question about, since we were talking about downtown. Along the waterfront, the fencing is pretty ragged in spots, and I think you had mentioned that they were going to maybe patch some of the fencing along the boardwalk and the railing.
I don't know of any proposal.
Okay. There's some pretty big gaps, bottom, sides. It was, I think, shown in my pictures that was sent to the port.
Okay.
It'd be nice if they could string fresh fencing along there, and some of the railings are kind of bowed, and it just needs some love.
Department heads. Ms. Lund, you have anything to share? Mr. Crocker.
Yeah, so 2 announcements. First, I was asked to look into the amount of time that our staff spends reviewing cabaret licenses. And so between the city clerk's office, the permit center, the building department, and the planners, it's about an hour and 25 minutes of review and routing of that information and compiling it. And when we don't have...
Per?
per license, and it doesn't matter whether it's a renewal or a new license. And our typical billing rate for, in our fee resolution is $75 an hour. So at an hour and 25 minutes, that's $106 would be the corresponding fee if we just use that $75 an hour rate. I don't recall what the fee is set, but I think it's pretty close to that. The second announcement, unfortunately, you have another rezone proposal. We had 2 of them filed last year, and the second one's going to be coming forward probably at the end of March. And so just be aware of ex parte communications. The property is on Sydney Road Southwest, there at near the underpass under Highway 16, and is the triangular shaped piece of property that has had an excavator parked up there for some time. And so that one went to the hearing examiner very recently, and we should have a decision to forward to the council in the near future. And hopefully that'll be the last of them for a while. I'm not aware of any others in the pipeline.
And that's the triangular piece that fronts the freeway, correct?
That is correct.
Ms. Archer.
Nothing to report this evening. Thank you.
Deputy Chief.
Nothing to report.
Ms. Wallace.
Nothing to report either.
All right. We are to our second citizen comment period. Is anybody?
Yeah, my name is Bob Showers. Well, I'd just like to say I do love Port Orchard, and I've been here quite a while, and over the years, I've seen a lot of different setups here for the council and the mayors, but lately, I'm thinking that maybe the council and the mayor need to work a little bit more closer together on things, especially when I started looking at some of the things and asking people, well, why does this happen and why does this happen? And some people really can't tell me and other people can, but they are not for sure. So I would like to make a suggestion. I would like to make the suggestion that I think there's a mayor councilman handbook. And in that handbook, it says, it kind of talks about finding your place in City Hall. And Appendix 1, there's different forms of municipal government. There's the mayor-council form, there's a council-manager-mayor form, and there's a commission form of government. And I realize some of that gets dictated to you by maybe population or something like that. But I'd like for you to pay special attention to Appendix 1, and it talks about authority. And it says it's an overview of statutes defining and limiting the authority of the mayor. And I'm thinking that you guys, the council and the mayor, need to take a look at what you're doing and maybe be a little bit more give and take on issues that you're having for the community. Because I see a lot of things that are being more or less decided on, and I talk to the community every day. I mean, it's just like those tables that you're talking about right there. Those would be real nice for the community if you can pick up the homeless off of them. Because I can drive through Port Orchard and see them laying on doorsteps and on benches and anywhere else, and nobody's doing anything about it. I'm not saying they're not trying to do something about it, but it just doesn't look like things are being done. So maybe you ought to take a look at the form of the municipal government that you have right now and maybe decide to go another way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For your comment. Online, Brandy, I see a hand raised. Okay. And if you could, when clerk brings you into the meeting, if you could identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Hello, this is Athena Wallstrom. I have a question for the council that may be best addressed through the attorney. I just wanted to understand when it comes to a judicial hearing, if there is typically a second period of comment that is available after the applicant or developer person who, would have fit Noel Larson's shoes has their second opportunity to speak. And once you answer that, I do have another question.
Okay, well, this is citizen comment period, but if you've got a question, I would recommend reaching out to the city clerk and writing your question to the city clerk, and the appropriate staff member would then be able to get back to you without question.
Okay, and then my follow-up question. So if you could advise me if I need to be discussing it with the city clerk or a different individual, is what method do we have the ability to find out what and how the criteria was met given a previous proceeding? So I would just like to have more information about that beyond what was provided through the hearing examiner report.
Certainly.
Because I found considerable disagreement.
Okay, and city clerk would also be the most appropriate. Then she can route it to the appropriate, whether it be legal counsel or the development director.
Okay. Well, thank you all for your time. Go Hawks. And I appreciate that I noticed you guys went over the 10 minutes, so I can tell that you gave a lot of attention to the concerns that we had. So thank you for that. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the council, you can raise your hand. Seeing no one, so I will close the second citizen comment period. We are to good of the order. Is there anything for the good of the order?
Yeah, I have
Councilmember Warden, go ahead.
kind of some questions I have, actually.
Okay.
If I want to bring up like an ordinance, to change an ordinance, and I want to discuss with my council members before I bring it forth, so we're encouraged to talk to 4 people, not 4, apologize. We're encouraged to talk, we're encouraged to get the numbers, but that would be 4. But I can't do that, I can only talk to 2. How do we, because I have some real conversations that I want to have.
So what realm is it a land use matter?
There is a land use matter, there's a traffic matter, there's, yeah.
So I would go to
Transportation, go to land
their
use,
committee, go to the committee chair and say, hey, I've got this concern. Would your committee consider, and then when the staff talks, hey, future agenda items for that committee to discuss, because staff's probably not going to be ready that evening. Another way you could bring that is you could bring it to myself.
Sure.
And I can get it to the right committee and then brief staff, and so maybe they're prepared to talk to it. We can probably move a little faster that way.
That route, I like that route. Have you heard it back yet? Anything on the price of that Kraken?
We have a presentation next week from Rice Fergus Miller. The presentation is about the philanthropic giving and the signage and the meeting rooms and stuff. But I've told them they need to be able to talk to us about the Kraken.
Okay.
So I've made them aware whether or not their sub-consultant has gotten that body work, but I've made them aware that the council will be disappointed if we don't have a rendering, some more information that is the hot button.
Then one last one is the next week at our work study, I know we're full, I don't know what's on it, is we're calling them town halls. Who is going to, example, if we have one at McCormick, is Brandy, Miss Wallace, is she going to reach out and schedule that? Or is that something we're going to discuss at that? Only reason why I ask is because
we should set
let's set it up.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a pretty small detail of it, but a big one. And then we can just discuss details. But I didn't know if that's on the agenda, and if it's not.
Brandy, what we do Wednesday morning after we meet here is we talk about the agendas for future meetings.
Perfect.
And so Brandy can pull it up. Because I know what do we have on the agenda for the work study next week? She's doing that one.
Can I just add on to that topic? I won't go to my stuff, but that's a similar topic. I did notice in the packet that we have all 3 dates for the town halls scheduled, and they're all on Thursdays. And I don't know if maybe I said it at the last meeting, but if I didn't, I would like to reiterate part of the thought process behind The non-town halls that we were having before we came to town halls was that these are places that people can't make it to a Tuesday night or a Saturday. So the same thing would be true on a Thursday. So I don't know if it's, if
So
we
we
could
need
look
to-
at possibly looking at a Wednesday, a Friday, a Monday for the other dates throughout the year.
Okay. I thought it was purposeful that you guys picked Thursdays, and that's how we tumbled to those, but we can revisit those dates, obviously.
I mean, they're cool for me, probably most of us, but that's
Yeah.
his one day off he asked.
I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying, like, we're thinking about the people and who would be able to interact with us. We're trying to make it at different days of the week, because if somebody's always the same, you know.
I'm following you.
We can revisit the dates. I wasn't,
Just a thought.
I wasn't married to any of them. We just walked through the calendar, and that's the way it worked, so. Do you have it there, Brandy? You didn't have to put it on your screen. You could have just read it. I know Rice Fergus Miller, there's the first presentation.
Yes, and then there is a discussion regarding tree canopy by Director Bond, and then Tremont 2 and 3 recommended alternatives by Director Ryan, and then the town hall format.
Okay, so town hall is on there, so we'll revisit the dates and then settle on locations, and then those basics, and then we can, at a future meeting, start hammering out the details, okay?
April 3rd is coming soon, though.
It is coming soon. And you know, and I think if we wanted to have I think something downtown might not be as attended as well as, I think the McCormick one, because of all the development, maybe we start with one as a practice run that's, not as intense, but so your guys' call. We'll do whichever location you guys, yeah, so. I just want to do it right.
I think it'd be good at the gathering, our first
So,
one.
all right, I see you got a list.
I do. Thank you. So may as well right here. One, I want to take a moment to acknowledge Mr. Showers. Thank you for coming. There are just a couple of things that we don't always get to say, especially since it's not a back and forth for his comments. But, the mayor is his own form of government here. So certain things he can do without our approval. Just know that. I do believe that we all are attempting to work on our relationships with each other and with the mayor. I did have the town halls was on my list. And then I just want to reiterate my call for anybody who knows somebody who is a business owner or property owner downtown. We as a council set aside $100,000 for this grant revitalization program.
75.
I thought we did 100,000. Yeah, we did 100 for each. So we put 100 in the bucket for the stuff that the city could do, and then 100 into this bucket as well. And so I just want to make sure that we are getting the best bang for our buck, right? We're trying to do what we can because our tools in our tool belt are limited when it comes to how we can encourage this type of behavior. And I believe we've learned that there's little or no stick, so we got to use as much carrot as possible. So we want to hear from those who like the taste of carrots, what kind of carrot you like served. So we'd love to know. Thank you.
I just don't like my carrots cooked. Councilmember,
good to know.
Go ahead.
So first of all, I won't be, I'll see if I can attend the next meeting. I'll be out of the country, so it might be a little difficult, but I'm going to try. The other thing is, I think maybe the mayor knows, but Given Center is going to be put up for sale. Did not know, okay. I think the council the commissioners are making are concerned about the maintenance costs and would like to get rid of that building. I would like us to be a part of the discussion in the sense that, not that we necessarily want to acquire it, because I think it's maybe perhaps a tear down, I don't know. But if we would like to see the county covenant as to future uses that we would find complementary to our area, to the campus, versus what's allowed in the zone, because some of those could be a little bit more than the neighborhood might be appreciative of. So I think it would be worthwhile talking to the county administrator and seeing if we can covenant according to a range of uses that we might
I think
find.
it'll be interesting to see what they put it on the market for, because at the city, when we looked at it years ago, we thought it was a tear down.
It is a tear down.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's, yeah, there's a lot of money that's gonna have to go into it to make it functional as it once was.
Councilmember Diener, I got a question. I heard, what was that, Coffee with the Council, someone who works there, the county put brand new basketball courts in there, but they're closed down. Do you know anything about that?
I do
She
not.
was surprised that they're locked doors, but they were the county a couple years ago.
The preschool has used it during rainy days, so I've seen it, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Montessori.
good.
Yeah, the Montessori would use that on a rainy day for the kids to play in.
But it's not generally
It's not
open
for,
to.
yeah, it's not
But
for the public or
The whole
anything.
building isn't
It's
generally
just-
open to the public. You have to usually get permission, somebody has to ring you in to get in. I think that's going to mean that we're gonna have to think about the senior center. Because they house a senior center, and the senior center is gonna need to go somewhere. Yeah, we have
There's
to worry,
also-
we have to think about our seniors.
Monasteries.
It's also the biggest area for the county's training too, so.
Yep, yep.
All right, anything else for the good of the order? Councilman Rose Pepper.
Just two items. One, I attended the South Kitsap Helpline Gala last Saturday. It was well attended. If you haven't been up to the new facility, I know Heidi has been, and I know the mayor has been, please do. It's a really unique facility compared to what they had before. Also, I put a card by your table for the South Kitsap Public Education Foundation event on April 25th. If you get a chance to go, it benefits the school district and an endowment fund. And also, I'll ask Heidi to give me the date again of the crab feed, because I keep forgetting that one.
March 21st.
Okay.
March 21st.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for our Port Orchard Rotary.
Yep, since you brought that up, I spoke this morning at the Port Orchard Rotary Club and talked about the numerous projects we've got going on and initiatives at the city. So it's very well received there. I saw a couple of council members there too. So, all right, with that, I think council's heading into an executive session. And pursuant to?
Yep, pursuant to RCW 423110 subpart 1 subpart I for approximately 10 minutes
Sure.
with no action to follow.
Let me unplug myself there.